gospel says nothing about eugenics. Keeps me awake at night sometimes, what humanity does to each other. But heaven help the person who decides who's in and who's out on planet Earth over God's people, made in his image. So in many ways, the gospel is the answer, of course, to the world's situation, the problem of our sin. And the answer is to be discovered like a treasure, as Jesus said. We are to dig for it. We are to work hard. It's hard work digging, right? I tried to plant my banana tree in my garden a few months ago, and I got this deep before I hit really, really hard Tauntonian Somerset red clay. And I was done for. I needed my two boys with their shovels and pickaxes and massive man muscles to come and help me dig it, and they did. And I said, no one must ever hear of this. And here I am admitting, Taunton's clay defeated me. But we must dig for the treasure, right? We must dig. And we all must do this great biblical dive into the wholeness of what God has for us to get the most out of God's word. I want to share something now that is not a normal way to start or to bring into a Sunday sermon, but this is really supremely important. I'll tell you when to put it up, Carl, don't preempt. But at the 1947 Nuremberg trials, now most of us will have heard about the Nuremberg trials, the trials of the Nazi war criminals who did terrible medical experimentation on people, mostly the Jews, the gypsies, the disabled. A wicked thing to do, right? We agree that, right? Following that was the Nuremberg trials. They were held accountable for violating the moral laws of the universe. Thank God for that. Since then, the Nuremberg Code has insisted without exception on a voluntary consent to medical procedure. This is what it says. Thanks, Carl. What does it mean? This means that the person involved should have the legal capacity to give consent, should be so situated as to exercise free power of choice without the intervention of any element of force, fraud, deceit, duress, overreaching, or other ulterior form of constraint or coercion, and should have sufficient knowledge and comprehension of the elements of the subject matter involved as to enable him or her to make an understanding and enlightening decision. Comes straight out of 1947. I think we would all agree to this. This is an ethic that springs where from? The whole gospel. It's the Judeo-Christian worldview that gives rise to statements like this. Because if you remove God, you can do anything to people. That's what communism proves. God is dead. 50 million people wiped off the planet. The rise of fascism. God is dead, or at least he's subjected to our cause. Hundreds of millions of people wiped off the planet. This kind of comment springs from the biblical worldview. The whole gospel, going to work. Going to work. Because we live in a moral universe, do we not? If you break the moral laws of the universe, it tends not to end well for you at some point.